600 k's into the trip up to Sydney, I've pulled over in a little town called Gunning. We've actually raced here quite a bit for the 2012 or maybe 2011 New South Wales State Masters Champs. We've held the National Road Champs here for the Masters a few years in a row. To stay awake, I'm going to drive you through the course that we've done the road race on, and also which then leads into the time trial course as well, going in the reverse. So we started in town, we raced out and did a few loops and finished in this hill just up the road here. All right, so to keep myself awake, I'm going to talk you through the course and how those races unfolded. Let's drive. So I'll talk you through the road race first, because that's the first race we had here on this part of the course. There was a neutral rollout up the hill here. I was in the Masters 1 category that year. There was probably 30 to 40 guys racing my category. Von was racing the women's category as well. Can't quite recall the results of that. I'll link below though, if I can find them online still. So neutral rollout up this hill here, we're still about 350 to 380 watts. Just going neutral behind the neutral car. If you can tell the detail already, I've cleaned the windscreen of the car, but if you can tell the detail, the wind is phenomenally big here. Is that a word? Phenomenally big? Yes. It's epic. It's coming from sort of the back left of where we are in the car. So from the left across. And you'll understand why they've got the wind farms out here. So it's neutral. So the road race we had here for the M1 category was 119 kilometres, and that was after the time trial, and I believe after the criterium too. So it was game on from about here. Over into single lane, and you can see the long descent here. That was the finish line, so probably about 100 metres time was the finish line and also the turn point. So I think it was 3 or 4 out and backs here. The finish line was about here. So just remember where the finish line was, and I'll talk you through the finish, but at the other end of the course, obviously, because I'm not coming back this way in a hurry. Start of the race, pretty solid actually. We all rolled out here pretty quick. You'll never get away on a downhill. So never try, unless there's a technical descent, but everyone's fresh. A few people try to stretch it out, but nothing really moved away. Now coming from interstate, I had no teammates and nobody knew me, it's a good thing. If you're an unknown, your cards are soon known. If you're moving up the front, making some aggressive moves and covering the brakes and things, people know you're there and in form. And you're not just sort of sitting and hiding away. So down the course here. And I don't think there's any actual flat section of the entire course. And what flat there is, it's windy. A lot of history through this area. Nothing that I can pull off the top of my head right about now. But I remember sitting there looking through Wikipedia one night, looking up the area. Historical train line here on the left. This is probably the only real flat section that I can recall on the course. Still part of the road course. I'll talk you through the road course, and then when we hit the time trial course, I'll talk you through the return leg of that. So the road course started in this town just here, Gunning, and the TT started at the other end of the course, which I believe is called Breadalbane. Breadalbane. Again, another short, punchy climb. Now the wind's at our backs through here, which is a good thing. Takes the edge off just a little bit. And again, you can see in the distance there, lots more climbing. Probably more sheep than anything else around here. No snakes this time of year. It's still a little bit too cold. We're at 23 degrees Celsius at the moment, so no snakes. Snakes by yourself, you can usually bunny hop them or go around them. Snakes in a bunch, like snakes on a plane, no one's happy. Causes a bit of chaos. Okay, short climb here. There's a few attacks going here early on, and I think every lap we have a few attacks just here, but you can see what comes straight after, so you're wasting your time. And another descent. So whatever gap you've got, usually people will just sort of punch down the hill a little bit, get straight on, close that gap, and more rolling hills coming up. So I don't think we dropped too many people on the first lap. And quite a few locals were, there was a few teams, Sydney Univelo, Brad Hannaford, Ronald Visser, they're two names that I knew. I can't recall anyone else. Oh, the names of anyone else. You sort of, you know which bike to look for and what wheel starts moving around. So again, more rolling hills, rolling hills. Okay, now we're moving into a longer style climb. This is probably, memory serves me right, 3 or 4 minutes of sort of just drag up here. Maybe a little less. But so, no real breakaways on the day. Nothing really got out any further than 30 seconds maybe. But here on the last lap, 98 Ks in, I think it was 96 to 98 Ks in. I was still in the bunch, couldn't get away, couldn't establish a break. I went here, solo, got about 100 meters gap coming up this climb here. The bunch was like, nah, it's too early. Still about 17 Ks, 18 Ks, 19 Ks to go. So I've gassed it, put my head down and, you know, threw it all in the wind, so to speak. You can see the climb coming up here, still climb, still climb. So that's that's probably the longest climb on the course. Not the hardest, but the longest. Around this time, I've turned my head around about here, and one of the Sydney Univelo guys is coming across, Ronald Visser, was TTing across to me. Now I thought, do I bring someone with me or do I go? Now it was a long way home, back the other way into a headwind. So around here, off the gas, judge the gap. He had a gap from the peloton. Ronald came across to my wheel, and the last thing you do is when someone comes across to your wheel, you ask them to pull a turn. I didn't do that. No way. They've done all their energy. They've put all their biscuits in. They've burnt all the matches getting across to you. So the best thing you can do is just keep your own tempo, keep your own tempo, keep your own. Give them a rest, let them have a drink, and then they'll come straight to the front. They're already warm, so you can see it's still climbing through here. So then Ronald and I went to work together. We weren't thinking of the wind. We're just getting, you know, how much gap could we get, and could we keep it on? You see it's still climbing through here, still climbing through here. We had about 20 seconds on the bunch and the turnaround spot about 8K up the road. We smashed it home, absolutely dug so hard. And I think we've found an instant friendship there, right through till about probably the last 100 meters of the race coming back into town. And we held the bunch off. They were charging at us. We held them off by about 8 seconds, I think it was, to third place. Ronald did one massive turn at the end, and I've launched off that. So as soon as he'd done his massive turn at about 200 to go, I've launched straight there. I didn't do another turn on the front. I've jumped straight from it. I waited for him to wear down a little bit, and bang, I've jumped him. So I took the title there, which was a super day out, actually. I'm really happy with that. I wasn't sure of I was training for 20K TTs, and it lasted, but Ronald was absolutely stoked for the second place. Okay, right here, we're onto the TT course now, which was part of the road course. This was the turnaround point for the time trial. So at 10K point, we've just driven over the dot there. We climb up here. So the reverse, I guess, of everything I'm saying is how we pace on the way out, but here's how we pace. We'll just pretend we've done 10Ks out. From here, it's about a 3 to 4% climb, protected from the wind, so you can have a bit of a rest. It bites here on the time trial. You've got to put in that hard yards right here. Maximum power for the course, pretty much just here. We're on about a 6% climb. You probably can't tell in the car. Eases off, and you're going to start collecting some wind from the left-hand side. So you're going to sit high up on the road, even though it's maybe not the shortest line, but pick a smooth line, collect that wind onto and like a sail, and gas it from here. So we've just done, so we're probably 11 Ks into the time trial now, given that we've just passed the turnaround point. Again, through here, absolutely on the gas because there's a descent coming up. So spend all the money. So the number one tip I give people for time trials is go hardest when you're going the slowest. That's as simple as that. If you're going up a hill and you're going slow, that's when you're going hard. If you're going downhill, which you'll see just around this corner, so once you're up to speed, now through here we're probably doing maybe 55, 60, up to 70 down through here with a tailwind on a windy day. Speed advisories on the sign there, usually don't take too much notice of those, but good open corners, pretty smooth. Punching through these, so carrying momentum and getting in the right gear, punching straight over this one into a longer descent. So from that turnaround point there in the time trial, you go super hard. You don't completely cook yourself, but you really have to recover, and you can use these descents as recovery. See, just a little bounce up over here, down through the right, slight recovery through here, bit of a climb out here. With the wind at your back on a really windy day, you'll just sail straight up these. Also, picking a line as well. With in the car, you probably can't see it on this road here, but the camera's in the middle of the car, and the car has two wheels, obviously. In a time trial, you're sitting, well, yeah, there we go, the car's telling me off. You sit on the wheel lines. It's the smoothest part of the road. You try and get as minimal bumps as possible. We can talk about tyre pressures and why a lower pressure is better on a rougher road. These roads aren't the smoothest, but if you can find the smoothest part of the road, it's all going to help. Sailing down through here. So what I mean by that is you pick a tyre line here. You probably can't see on this type of road here. It's more prevalent on probably roads that have been around a little longer, but you'd sit in the left lane. So for here, you'd guide yourself straight at that corner here. So the car won't like that, but you'd be guiding yourself right where the camera is now on that smooth section there. Smooth section there, you pick your left-hand corner and you'd come straight across on the bike, hug that corner right there on that smooth line, sticking again to that smooth line, punching well over FTP for these. It's only a 20k time trial, so most of this course is over FTP, and this is the recovery sections. Now through here, tailwind, sit up the road into this smooth line over here. I should turn the beeps off the car, but you can see the smooth line. You get two lines really evident right here. Because we're turning right, you want to be in the middle lane right here. Hug that center line. You've got a number on your back, so you're not sort of disrupting any of the cars. Not advising a training ride, but through here. And again, we've got another short rise through here, well over FTP through here. Probably about 5 or 6 Ks to go from here to the finish line. Great, super fast finish line. Again, picking up the wind as much as you can on your back. Smooth line here on the left. And some descent here, probably 3% descent, I'd say, on a hill. So you can start gathering your thoughts and collecting some wind in the lungs for your final push home, because this is downhill, this is fast. You're probably sitting on maybe 65. I've got a couple of photos of up around here. Tony Rignan, good mate, took a couple of photos. I'll put those up here in the footage as well. I'm not sure if I've got any video. We bend around, there's two slight right turns. Again, center of the road, shortest possible line, smoothest possible line, and collecting that wind that's coming over our left shoulder. Still a bit of a descent. So here, you're going full gas, but here's the final. You can see what's just come around the corner then. Massive long straight, so you can tuck right down. There's nothing technical about this at all. It's pure power. About 3k from home, flat out. The trig's on the left here. It's the first course that I've ever felt the whoosh, 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 whoosh. You actually feel the dips and the air, different change in air pressure as you're riding along here. You see the wind coming from the left across to the right, and those trees have effectively a drafting effect. So you will actually get, so what you want to do is sit in the center of the road, trying to get as least turbulence as possible, but as much tailwind as you can, and hitting that smooth line. And if the resolution's good coming up, you may see a hill. So my pacing strategy is here, all out now. For about 30 seconds here on the bike, just gather yourself and ready for the final fight home. About 1.5k to go. But you need to really, this is where it's called, you leave it all out on the road, and it starts right now with that change of road surface still there from a few years ago. Absolutely on the gas, and you can see it starts pinching up a little bit here. Road surface is pretty good, not really much of a change in variance, but it starts to slow down here, it starts to bite. You're probably still in the 53, but you're high up on the back. Swings around to the right, watching the potholes. Full gas, full gas, full gas, full gas, full gas, full gas. Still full gas over the top until you're at a speed that you're happy with. Don't back off as soon as it gets easier. Change down a few gears and keep on that gas, straight down. So this was flat out. Again, centre road here. We're hugging around to the right. You can see the wind on the trees up there, straight ahead of me here. You see that wind? Now we hit this finish line at probably 60 to 70k an hour, and this is everything. This is dumping everything. You can't see or feel. It's just, you just breathe and hold form. This is the final probably 800 meters from here. It's all that. You can't win it or lose it here at all, but you can just maintain where you're at. All the hard work's already done out the road on those hills, and good pacing strategy. So about 20 seconds, 15 to 20 seconds from the end here on the bike, gathering as much wind on your back as possible. Smoothest line, this light road's pretty smooth here. And the town sign there, through the town sign, and it's a slight punch up, punch, 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 leave it all on the line. Finish line is right. There we go. Job done.
I reckon they will be in shortly.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Thanks, guys.
Nice stuff, Shane.
So the reverse of that was the start of the course. Super tough course on a windy day. Really, really tough. Good roads. We trained pretty hard for it, and it paid off in the day. I believe they had their two New South Wales state champs ×2 there, and they may have had the Australian time trial champs ×2 there as well. I can't recall the specifics, but I think the first year I was a little quicker than the second year. The first year it had pretty gusty wind, and the wind conditions can change. The day's pretty long, from about 9 a.m. through till 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The wind will change. So the times comparable across the grades can be hard. Super tough course though. Great one to train for, because the way out required some really a good breakdown of long straights. You see that long straight we just came in on? But then to prepare yourself for those hills, you've got to really overpower those and lesser power the downhills, digging yourself out from that train line and holding on for dear life at the end there. Coming back is super, super fast. That was all on the Shiv, I believe I did that course on all the time we've been up here. So there we go, just a quick talk through for the course to keep me awake. Just wanted to do something different and visit an old part of the road that I'd broken down into chunks a few years back. And maybe we'll come back if they get the course there again. Come back and give that another shot, given I've got all the data for that and I still remember the course off the top of my head. Really good stuff. All right, we're back on the freeway. Another 2.5, 3 hours through to Sydney. So I thought I'd take you through a course that I've had quite a bit of success on, and that proved a really good challenge. We came up here 2 weeks after I had one of my collarbones pinned for the Nationals. It was the state titles. The state titles were always before the Masters Nationals, but it was great to come up here and do a full dress rehearsal. And I'd broken a collarbone in Wangaratta, I believe. Just took the top off one of them and had it operated on, and the surgeon's like, no, you're not racing, but I could still manage to hold the bars. So we came up and did that race, and then 2 weeks later, 2 more weeks later, so that was 2 weeks after the surgery, and then 2 weeks later we came up for the Nationals. I still couldn't really get my shoulder in to be as aero as I wanted, but it was okay. Once you're in the zone and the roads are pretty smooth, it's just your legs and your lungs and getting your head down. We'll talk a lot more about time trials in the near future. We may even have a TT week or a speed week or something like that. But a few tips there: choosing lines on the road, choosing the smoothest part of the road, collecting the wind, And in the reverse, hiding from the wind, as you can sit on a different spot on the road to hide from the wind. There's no use sitting on the shoulder of the road if the wind is coming up the side. You want to be in the middle so that the wind pushes over top. What front wheel selection to use? I think I used the Stinger 90 for that course. The day prior that we did a recon, that was one of the scariest recon rides I've ever done. We'll talk to Veronica about that as well. She was up there with us and we just couldn't hold a bike. You probably can't see the windmills behind me here. Are they in the horizon? Probably too small. But that was dangerously windy. You'd probably even run just a standard road wheel if it was that windy on race day. But the wind did die down a little bit. And if you can hang on to a deep wheel, they're usually quicker. The Stinger 90 has been proven to be quicker if you can hang on to it. But then if you're losing too much energy through your core and trying to stabilise on the bars, it's not worth it. You're going to lose power, lose speed, chew up too much of your energy and concentration on all things other than putting the power down and holding good form. There we go. I'll let you go for now. Thanks for watching, and let's continue on to Sydney.